On October 10th, Bitcoin crashed 40% and MicroStrategy crashed even harder. Everyone panicked and sold. But then, just a couple months later, Morgan Stanley files for a Bitcoin trust. Wells Fargo buys around $383 million worth of Bitcoin. Texas bought like $10 million worth of Bitcoin for their state reserve. And when you look at the timeline of what happened, something just doesn't add up. You'll get what I mean by the end of this video, and you'll see why I think the next couple months are going to be the biggest Bitcoin adoption months in a long time. Let's get into it. What's up, everyone? It's your boy Shibzy. All right, let's go back and let's see what we might have missed here on October 10th. So let's just go back to October 10th and just walk through what happened step by step, right? So Bitcoin here is trading around 118, 119. I think the high is 126. Everything's looking good. And October 10th comes and you see this big red candle here. That's all the rumors that were spreading around about MSCI, which is Morgan Stanley Capital International, that they might remove MicroStrategy from their index. Now, if you don't know what that means, when a company gets removed from the major index, all the funds, all the passive funds that kind of just go into that fund stop. So the index basically has to sell off MSTR, and that's going to be, billions of dollars of forced selling, which obviously would hurt MSTR, which would obviously hurt Bitcoin eventually. So then MicroStrategy, obviously being a levered Bitcoin, it drops almost double the amount here. Almost, 53%, right? And Bitcoin's crash, obviously the entire crypto market got liquidated. It was like the biggest liquidation since FTX, I think. And billions were wiped out in hours. Everyone panicked. Bitcoin's dead, bull run's over. We're going to like 20K I was hearing, 50K I was hearing. I think I still hear like 70K, but 20K is, come on, guys. But yeah, retail sold, fear was everywhere. And then this happens a couple, maybe 5-6 days ago. Morgan Stanley files for an S1 registration for a Bitcoin trust. Interesting timing, right? I'm not saying anything. I'm just showing you the timeline. October 10th, rumor about, their index. Bitcoin crashes 40%. And then a couple months later, they filed for an S1 for their own Bitcoin product. You can draw your own conclusions, but it's kind of obvious to me, right? But here's what's really interesting. Let me show you who was actually buying during this whole dip in the last couple months. And this is David Bailey tweeting this out. Bag secure, now kill a MSCI FUD. Makes sense to me. So here's Wells Fargo. So they revealed that they bought $383 million worth of Bitcoin. That's it's a lot of Bitcoin. And this was during or like right after the crash in like Q3, Q4-ish. Q4 of 2025. And then we go on, and state of Texas also bought $10 million worth of Bitcoin for their strategic reserve. Not just that, here's Congressman Byron Donalds. He files to buy 100K worth of Bitcoin. And this is who sits on kind of the financial services subcommittee on the digital assets. So he filed to buy 100K worth of Bitcoin. This is a congressman who literally writes the rules for crypto, and he bought during the fear. So here's the pattern, right? Retail panic sells, and then the institutions buy. This happens every single cycle, but this time it is a little bit different because it's not just crypto funds that are buying. It's more like banks and institutions. Well, not just institutions. There's actually other states also looking to buy. Check out this clip.
Vi har ju en guldreserv, vi har en valutareserv och i USA ska man nu bygga upp en strategisk bitcoinreserv. Och det här är ju en tendens som man ser i ganska många, framförallt utvecklingsländer. Men är det nu dags för Sverige att bygga upp en strategisk bitcoinreserv, och hur ska man värdera de där uttalandena som kommer från USA och andra länder, och är det någonting som vi kommer se mer av i framtiden, tror ni? Tack.
Tack. Adam Reuterskiöld, Moderaterna, varsågod.
I'm not going to play the whole video, but basically what happens is the parliament actually says no, they're not even thinking about this. And they kind of laugh it off, and you can see they're kind of older people, obviously. And this guy who asked the question was obviously a younger guy. It seems like, you know, the younger generation is into Bitcoin. So they laugh it off. But the important part is it's being introduced in parliaments. I mean, 5 years ago, you would never think about this. This is insane. And while Sweden's kind of debating this, obviously the other countries are moving. And you can see, again, that the U.S. has already made their move.
We've also started to get into the 21st century, a Bitcoin strategic reserve. We're not going to be buying that, but we are going to use confiscated assets and continue to build that up. We're going to stop selling that. I believe that Bitcoin reserve at today's prices is somewhere between 15 and 20 billion.
Okay, so this one's important. So let me clarify what he's saying, because a lot of people are confused about this. So we're not buying Bitcoin yet. We're just holding it in a reserve, because if they bought Bitcoin with, let's say, taxpayer dollars or any sort of dollars that can be used for something else, it would be a big political thing. As the government buying Bitcoin, whatever. The education isn't there yet for a justification to buy Bitcoin. So they're holding the Bitcoin. There's no sell pressure, right? Which is a good thing. And they already hold around 325,000, according to this chart. I think the last time it was like 300,000. And apparently there was rumors last week that they're actually seizing Venezuela's Bitcoin, which they apparently have 600,000 of. This was never confirmed or anything, so I don't know if this is real. If that does happen, though, they will get to 1 million Bitcoin. I guess we'll find out in the future if they actually did this or not. But I don't know. Let's see. Let's see if they seize it and then just hold it, or what they do with it. I think it's a good idea regardless. And you can see Trump thinks the same.
Crypto was under siege. It's not under siege anymore because it's a big industry. It's a big industry, and I have a lot of people that are great people, great business people. They're in other businesses, but they're in crypto too. And it takes a lot of the pressure off the dollar. It does a lot of good things, but we're in.
So the key words there was takes pressure off the dollar. So it's not a competitor to the dollar. It takes pressure off of it. It's supporting it by absorbing the global demand for hard money. This is game theory. I think the U.S. having a strategic Bitcoin reserve is the first step. All the other countries have to follow. They will eventually, or they'll get left behind. Now, let me show you one of the most genius plays that I've seen, and I'm pretty sure all of the real estate people are doing this, but Grant Cardone's going to do this at a more public scale. I know he's been talking to Saylor a lot, so makes sense.
Bitcoin treasury company in the world. And real revenue, real income, real cash flow, a real use. It comes with depreciation, and it comes with a bunch of Bitcoin. And then every month we buy Bitcoin out of our free cash flow.
How much Bitcoin do you expect to end up with by the end of this quarter? Are you expecting to buy more?
We'll have 3,000. We'll have 3,000 pieces by the end of this year.
And are you looking towards next year? Are you looking to acquire a little bit more than you were acquiring this year?
Oh, 100%, dude. I'm gonna scale this. I just started this.
Okay.
All right. So he's literally saying it. He's just building a company, cash flowing real estate, apartments and commercial properties that generate rents every single month, and he's going to take that free cash flow, put it into Bitcoin. Now this unlocks even further demand for anyone who wants real estate and Bitcoin at the same time. So they're not completely open to just Bitcoin. They're like, okay, so this is a real estate company. If anything goes wrong with Bitcoin, at least I have the real estate as a backing, right? Grant. So I think this is going to open up even more demand to pension funds, 401ks, and more institutional money that doesn't want exposure directly to Bitcoin, but will kind of hedge it with real estate. I mean, this is the bridge. This is how like trillions of dollars come in of boring money and they get Bitcoin exposure. And at the end of the video, he actually talks about if it's only Bitcoin that he's going to do this with, and no like other Solana and all that.
Just
stuff.
Bitcoin. You're not entertaining like, let's say,
No.
an Ethereum or Solana kind of play.
No.
Yeah, so it's just Bitcoin. I mean, no Ethereum, no Solana. The smart money knows there's only one. But here's the real reason why this is happening right now. So this is the Federal Reserve's balance sheet amount. So you can see in the last couple of years, since basically the bear market started, they were doing QT, meaning quantitative tightening, meaning they were shrinking their balance sheet. Okay, so you can see it going down and down. Even during this time from 2022 till now, Bitcoin has still risen from 16K to whatever, 90K. And now you can see this little peak up. Now they're finally starting to flip this over. And I assume they're going to they're going to print into oblivion. And I'll show you a little more on what they're doing. But I mean, if Bitcoin went from 16 to 90K in quantitative tightening times when liquidity was low, I don't know what it's going to do when the liquidity starts picking up here. Now, they're not going to call it QE because I think everyone, at least in the finance field and even in the normal population, knows what that means by now. It means inflation, and they're just going to print money to buy their own bonds or in any sort of way. And I think they're now calling it balance sheet normalization or liquidity management. But we know what it is. It's money printing. It's just a different name to confuse everyone and just make these terms up that people get confused about, but it's all the same. So let's look at this tweet right from Lynn Alden. She says, "Nothing stops the train." This is a reply to Trump saying that he intends to raise the U.S. national defense budget in 2027 to 1.5 trillion from 1 trillion. Again, printing $500 billion to do that. And then again, this has been going around. They're going to buy mortgage bonds, 200 billion worth, using Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac cash. So he's saying here, I'm instructing my representatives to buy $200 billion in mortgage bonds. This will drive mortgage rates down, monthly payments down. So why he's doing this is because there's midterm elections coming up. Everyone's obviously struggling. Everyone's saying no one can afford homes, all the younger generations. So he's trying to bring down the price of interest, at least, because you can't bring down the price of the houses. And then he also had another post about credit cards, and he's bringing the interest to 10% starting sometime in January, I think. So he's really just trying to print as much money as possible and then basically just allow the people of America to think that they're better off. And the inflation will hit after midterms maybe, but in the meantime, everyone's going to be kind of ecstatic that the markets are up and Trump is doing rate cuts or like interest rate cuts. He's telling credit card companies to lower their rate, and he's trying to bring the rates down. So Lynn said it the best. There's a whole lot of words to say. Nothing stops this train. And the money printing is going to come. It's regardless of whoever, any sort of solution here, it all leads to money printing. No one is willing to crash the market and go through like a 90% bear market and like everyone is basically homeless. So we're going to have to print our way out of this. Your cash is melting. The only way to protect yourself is Bitcoin, gold, real estate, only hard assets. Now, let me show you why we're not even close to the top yet. In fact, I think the last year was basically a bear market. We didn't move at all. I think we're 0% if you compare year to year. Look at this chart from Willy Woo. This is actually a little bit of an older chart, but you can see the adoption compared to the internet we're only at 4.7%. I mean, 4.7%, that's like looks like the 1990s over here. 1999. And look at this projection of the internet after that. Now with Bitcoin, I believe it's going to be so much bigger and faster, and it's going to follow probably the same curve. And here's the last tweet from Jack. Here's what he has to say about the price.
Higher.
How much higher?
A lot higher. My general framework from the highest level is human beings collectively, we own about $900 trillion worth of stuff. That's equities, the things behind us, real estate, precious metals, fine art, all of the things that we own. Half of that we're using as a savings account. We're owning the portfolio of companies or the art or the house to actually try and persist wealth into the future. I think Bitcoin's going after that market. It's going after a market of $400 to $500 trillion worth, and right now it's $2.5 trillion. So I think in purchasing power terms, Bitcoin can go up 100 to 200 times more from here.
All right, so we know Bitcoin obviously.
All right, guys. So, I mean, he thinks it's going to go 100 to 200x from here. That's might be hopium, or it might be math, right? Bitcoin market cap, 2.5 trillion. The global savings market is 400 to 500 trillion. I mean, that's kind of math right there. If Bitcoin even captures like 10% of that market, we're talking 40 to 50 trillion market cap for Bitcoin, and that's like a 20x from here. It's not going to happen tomorrow, right, guys? It's going to take some time. Everyone needs to study and actually use it, and it needs to stay decentralized. But I think we're on our way. Just lay out the timeline here, okay? You can decide for yourself what it means. October 10th, the rumors about MSCI removing strategy from their fund, from their index, they start coming up. The market crashes 40%. A couple months later, in the new year, Morgan Stanley files for an S1 for a Bitcoin trust. During the crash, Wells Fargo bought around like 400 million worth of Bitcoin. Texas bought $10 million worth of Bitcoin. One of the congressmen is buying Bitcoin. It's coming up in Swedish parliament, talking about strategic Bitcoin reserves. Scott Bessent is obviously saying they're not going to sell any more Bitcoin in the US. Trump said the crypto industry is a big industry now and he's excited for it. Grant Cardone is merging real estate with Bitcoin and buying Bitcoin with the cash flow that the real estate generates. QE is again starting. Trump is buying 200 billion worth of mortgage bonds. He's cutting credit card interest rates. All that, and Bitcoin is only at like 5% adoption. That's the same as the internet in 1999. And Jack Mallers is just saying Bitcoin has a long way to go, 100x to 200x from here. So I'm not going to tell you what to think about this timeline, but retail sold, the institutions bought, banks are loading up, states are loading up, the Fed is printing, the US holds a strategic reserve. The pattern is clear in my eyes, so let me know what you guys think. Do you think this was just a coincidence with the Morgan Stanley thing, or, am I on to something here? Let me know if you guys like this video. Like the video, subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.